Today we're going to be answering your questions while also making some banana bread because we didn't want to just sit down and film a Q&A. It's already 83 degrees in our oven.
We got quite a few more questions than expected, and we don't want this video to be like an hour long, so it's gonna be a little short and sweet. Maybe like this banana bread. Oh.
I will say we got a lovely question saying they wanted to know everything from how we met to living in a van to now living in a boat, and we would love to tell you all of that, but again, we can't make this video an eternity long, so we're gonna answer as much as we can, and if you guys enjoy this video, we'll do more of them in the future.
Exactly. Question number 1, how did we meet?
We met when we were, I think I was 15, he was 16 years old, and we met at a youth group. I don't know if there's much of a story of like the day that we met, right?
No, I mean, we both were kind of like at this, I came to the youth group later, but it was the church that you always
Yeah,
went
I grew
to.
up in this church. He came when he was in high school.
Yeah.
And that's how we met each other. But I think the first time we really talked was that I messaged him over Facebook.
Yeah.
And then we started texting, and the rest is history. We never stopped texting.
It's almost like that Shrek scene where it's like the donkey can talk, and it's like the trick is getting him to stop talking. Kind of rolls easy into the next question. How old were we when we got married? Yikes! Too young!
Yeah, I was 18 and he was 19.
Yep. I would say, in general, we do not recommend people just YOLO marry people at 18 and 19. But it did work out for us.
Yes.
So, statistical anomaly, I would say. But, you know, 10 years later, we've been very happy.
Where did we grow up?
We grew up in the northwest suburbs of Chicago, in some pretty small towns, almost closer to Wisconsin than Chicago, which makes sense why we are constantly trying to run away from winter.
How did we go from van to boat?
Ooh, I like this one. I feel like I've thought about this a lot because we were in the van when I first kind of found the Sailing LiveAboard YouTube kind of thing. And it really dawned on me that I was like, man, I love traveling around and living like kind of simply and in small places and in nature. But I always want to be by the water. We had the right idea, but the wrong vessel. And that's kind of when we started planning to be like, okay, how are we going to get rid of this van and save up to my boat? And the last background question, how did we get started traveling?
Honestly, I would say COVID kind of kicked things off for us. We were living in our apartment in Chicago, working full time. You know, I was finishing up school, and then we just wanted to get out of there. We ended up looking into vans, and it just kind of happened. And once we got into the van and we started moving around, there was just like no going back from that point. And then we traveled Asia for a year, and now we're living in the boat. So yeah, we just like moving around.
It's hard to think about going back to a life of just like being in one place, honestly.
It gets boring too fast.
Yeah, we need the constant struggle.
Next section, we got a lot of questions about our sailing experience. Do you have to have a captain's license to sail a boat?
In America, you absolutely do not. You may need experience enough to get signed off for your insurance, but as far as do you need like an actual boating license? No, not really. You can take like a boating safety course, which is generally highly recommended.
We did do that.
But I think like as far as just sailing a boat, no real requirements. Did you have any boating experience before buying a boat?
Very, very minimal. I lost my other egg. Thank you.
Ta-da!
Very, very little. I think I had been sailing like once or twice before we bought the boat. Maybe only once for me, actually.
Yeah, I think I had like 5 or 6 times I was like on an actual sailboat sailing around. How did we go from 0 to sailing? I would say this has just been like a kind of like a pattern in our life where we just jump into things with both feet and then figure it out later. It happened with the van. It kind of happened with traveling Asia. We just decide that we're gonna go try something and see if it works out. I will say that those 5 or 6 times that I was on a sailboat, because I basically, as soon as I figured out we wanted to try this liveaboard lifestyle, anytime I could get on a boat, I got on a boat, and every time I was just more sure that I wanted to do this.
I did not get on a boat every time I could. I was always less sure about this than he was.
How are you feeling now? Unsure?
Oh. You know, we've been having a rough go of things, and I have to take that into consideration with how I've been feeling about it, because it's always so high and low. in this life.
Yeah.
So I know like the feelings of unsureness will pass and they'll come back, and that's fine. What sailing course did you take and how long did that take?
So we didn't take like a traditional sailing course. We did lessons with Casper for about 3 days before we bought the boat. And then as an insurance requirement, we had to have a licensed captain sign off on around 50 hours of experience, but more so making sure we could do a lot of like the basic things that you would need to do on a boat. Can you do all the pre-checks? Can you maneuver the boat around? Can you dock? Can you get fuel? Can you pump out? All of these things. So we did 3 days with Casper before he left, and then we did 5 days with Captain John.
LiveAboard.
Where he lived on the boat with us, yeah. And then every day we would do a whole bunch of stuff and learn a whole bunch about our boat, and then cry.
Yeah, I cried a little bit.
No, but it was really good though. And kind of an interesting question, do we trust each other on the water?
I trust him with everything.
Yeah, I would say like if we didn't trust each other, we wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
Because like, especially in this, it's like we're a team. And it's just us out here who's like making it all happen, leaving the marinas, sailing not across oceans, but across periods of ocean water. And yeah, I mean, I don't think we would be doing it if we said we couldn't trust each other.
I think there's also a difference between like knowing that we both have minimal experience and acknowledging that about each other, that this is all new for both of us. So of course people are gonna make mistakes, but do I trust him? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he would ever do anything to harm us on purpose. Like, he's always gonna do the thing he thinks is best, and likewise.
Yeah, and we always try to be so safe.
Future plans. What are your long-term goals for sailing?
I mean, it's gonna sound lofty. I would love to sail the world, but I think we're gonna. I've always said we're gonna sail the world, but we're gonna start with this bay. We're obviously gonna take things slow. Our future sailing plans right now are we're gonna head north for hurricane season, and then as soon as we can, head back down south to go to the Bahamas and see more of the Caribbean. But eventually, yeah, I think like crossing the Atlantic and going to the Med would be incredible, and just seeing some of Europe. I see people sailing Southeast Asia, or even like, you know, the Polynesian islands and stuff. And I think all of that is incredible. So it's kind of just like, well, how long are we going to be doing this? Can we really see it all?
Probably the first couple of years we're going to be either on the east coast of the United States or down
in the
south.
Caribbean. I think they say the average circumnavigation takes 7 years. And I want to say it was the Winds who said per year it's around $40,000 to sail. So when you look at it that way, it kind of seems like a bit of an expensive journey, but we're gonna see if we can make it happen. Any projected timelines for sailing?
Well, right now our goal is to get to the Chesapeake Bay. I don't know that we're gonna get more north than that this year. We have a lot of boat projects we'd like to do, and we also could use just like a second to breathe, honestly. November 1st, we're going back down. Where are we going?
I mean, first the Bahamas. It's funny because like one, you can't really sail on a schedule, but two, we're just bad at planning things. Timelines, that's as far as we got, basically. It's like make it north, spend 4 months north, and then go back to
the Bahamas. We would love to kind of change our insurance for next year so that we can go south instead of north for the winter. Where are your dream sailing destinations and why?
Ooh. It's funny because I feel like you talk to people and like who have circumnavigated and stuff, and they're like, you go to the Bahamas because you're in the United States, and then you spend so much time traveling the world, and you're like, wow, the Abacos and the Exumas, they're still pretty like 9.9 out of 10 compared to everywhere else. So I feel like in that case, we're really lucky. I'd love to go spend more time in the Abacos and the Exumas. But as far as like worldwide, going back to Japan for me would be pretty high up there. I think it would be super cool to sail around Japan, even though it's a little cold.
Yeah, I also think Asia for me would be dream. I would love to go to like Thailand and Indonesia again by boat. I think that would be really fun. Another big dream would be crossing the Atlantic over to see Europe.
Yeah, I think that would also be huge for us. This is kind of a juicy question. Any plans for children in the future? And if so, will you raise them on the boat?
Yes and yes. One of the main reasons we picked this boat is because there was already a family with children living on it, and we saw that was doable for them, and we want kids. So that was one of the main reasons we picked the boat. We looked for a boat that could fit our family. Yeah. Sorry, I'm stumbling a little bit over my words there, but
You're okay. I think it would be super fun to have some feral boat children.
Yeah, I love feral boat children.
I mean, they're just so much fun. Very specific question. When are we coming to Bribie Island, which is in Queensland, Australia?
Hopefully one day.
Hopefully one day. Not soon, though.
I don't have a timeline for you, but that would be wonderful if we could make it over there.
I'd love to go to Australia and New Zealand and all of those places.
Finances. Let's talk money, honey.
Ka-ching!
God.
I feel like this is what everybody always wants to know and get really deep into, and we'll definitely share some of it. I think some of it will also be for like more of a future boat finance video. We can talk about it here too. How do you afford the boat, and do you still have an income, or are you just living off savings? So affording the boat was a lot of just, we had this dream, this idea that we wanted to buy a boat and we needed money. So selling our van definitely helped get kind of like what felt like an initial kind of like nest egg together.
Yes.
And then also, just we kept working remotely.
Well, we traveled Asia.
Well, we traveled Asia, yeah. And we were able to just save money. I mean, I worked in tech, and in tech you can make some good money. Not as crazy as like some of like the Google, Facebook stuff, but enough that we were able to save up to buy the boat. So then the second half of that question, do we still have an income? Yes. I do like a bit of consulting still in like the cybersecurity space. So that brings in like just enough that we shouldn't be burning through savings. And then now we make like just a touch of money off of YouTube and Patreon and stuff, which, you know, we feel so incredibly blessed by. But yeah, I mean, we're trying to figure out ways to make it sustainable and I guess like be responsible as we do like kind of a very goofball, irresponsible thing.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of answered this next question as well, which is like, how do you keep on to finance the sailing lifestyle? And yeah, like I said,
it's him working.
Yeah, it's like me working.
Sorry, that was loud.
More like part-time. It kind of got to a point where like, and this is maybe like a tip for, or maybe like a reality of sailing, but if you want to like live aboard a boat and take care of a boat and also be able to sail it, working full-time is super difficult.
Yeah, I've been struggling really hard because I'm the one who edits our videos, and I usually, sometimes I can do it in like 20 hours, but sometimes it takes me like 40 hours, so it's a full-time job. And doing that on top of maintaining the boat and sailing, and you know, it's been a lot.
Yeah.
It's been a little hard to keep up with. Not that I'm complaining. I really enjoy making videos and sharing them with you all.
Last finance related question. Is your boat registered in the US? And did you have trouble getting insurance? Yes, and
Kind of.
I think it was more tough just because we had so little sailing experience that finding a company to insure us was a bit tough. But we worked with a broker, or a couple of them, and they were able to find us, something that worked. And it was a lovely experience, honestly.
I thought this was a funny phrasing of this question. You get seasick on every turn, then why do you still like sailing? Or do you enjoy being seasick?
I would say it's probably the last one. Being seasick's just a blast.
This also goes with, did you know how sick you would get, or were you just hoping you wouldn't get sick? So let's talk about it. Let's talk about seasickness.
Yeah, we get a lot of comments about it. Most of the time making fun of us. A lot of sympathy too, so we appreciate that.
Yes, thank you. And a lot of advice, which is great and appreciated. Okay, seasickness. This is something I knew that I was going to struggle with from the get-go. But yeah, I get car sick, I get sick on airplanes. Like I struggle with motion sickness. So I always knew I would get really seasick.
And I would say that I also knew that like when things got really bad, I would also get seasick. When the weather's generally like mild to even like just kind of like normal couple foot waves, I usually am doing okay as long as I've like had some meclizine or Dramamine or whatever, and I'm, getting air, looking at the horizon, doing all the things that people say to do. Mm-hmm. But like, when the first time we ever went sailing and it was super choppy, I was also just throwing up a ton.
It's funny because I think, like, we've talked about feeling queasy and being seasick, and, it's come up on the channel in 2 big videos. But overall, those 2 times are actually the only time we've actually gotten seasick. Every other time we've moved the boat, we have not gotten seasick. So it's not every single time we sail that we have been seasick.
Yeah.
I think maybe it seems like it's been more than it is.
And I think Hunter put it the best. You know, it's like, would you take one really, really bad day for 2 weeks of the best days of your life? You know, like being in the Bahamas? And the answer, I think, for a lot of people, if you, like, you know,
look at it that way,
is like, yes. Like, I'll take the bad day if I can have 2 weeks of, like, very memorable experiences in kind of paradise.
And honestly, I don't think of the Bahamas as a time where I got seasick crossing there and back. I think of it as Honeymoon Harbor mostly. That was beautiful. I don't know, those sailing experiences when you're so sick and you're just trying to survive, it's so memorable. Like, all the other sails where it's gone perfectly, I don't really remember them.
Yeah, it's kind of like just a normal human thing to grab onto, like, the high highs and the low lows.
Mm-hmm. They're the worst sails, but the best stories, and I still have faith that we are going to adjust and that we won't be getting seasick forever. I just believe at some point in life my body will be like, oh, I'm not sick from this.
Roughly a teaspoon. Kind of a funny boat life question to ask while we're making bread. I cannot seem to meal plan from day to day. How on earth do you meal plan for weeks at a time?
Truthfully, at this point, we have not.
Yeah. We've done an okay job about getting, I would say, like, the baseline pantry staples in the boat, which then allows you to
create meals.
Get creative, you know? You can figure out something to eat.
I would like to do a much better job next time we go to the Bahamas on the meal planning front. It's like, we've been moving around so quickly and we haven't done any, like, crazy passages where we had to plan out, you know, food for, you know, multiple people over an extended period of time.
Yeah.
So honestly, we haven't gotten that into meal planning, but we definitely will be, and I have in the past. And when we get more involved in that, I will include it in videos or make a video about it dedicated to how we provision and meal plan.
Okay, let's lightning around some real-time questions. How's the boat work going? The boat work is unending. We are always fixing stuff, but it's going well. You know, I think we're breaking things and figuring out how to fix them. We're back on the water, as you can kind of see. Are you heading out to sea anytime soon? Yes, we were just at sea. We did, a pretty long passage. The longest one yet, first overnight sail. So excited to share that with y'all. Aside from the motor situation, are there any other projects that are keeping you from sailing and exploring? I would say, like, for the distances that we've done, like Miami to the Bahamas, back, kind of like jumping up the East Coast 100, 200 miles at a time. No, I would say for, like, any kind of, like, really long-term passages, there's some things, like, we probably want some new sails, or some new used sails, to be honest. Probably, like, a good rigging inspection and or replacing some rigging. So there's definitely some things that, like, that are in that scope of, like, we wouldn't cross the Atlantic, but we would cross to the Bahamas. Okay, and this is just kind of like miscellaneous kitchen sink kind of questions that we got, but we loved and really wanted to answer. What do you think the one big thing is that makes the difference between buying a boat and never going anywhere and actually lifting anchor and leaving?
The biggest difference is probably fear.
Yeah.
I would say fear is what holds me back from wanting to move the boat.
A lot of life, I feel like there's so much that you, like, want to do and plan to do, but it's just so easy to be in that planning or perfection phase where you're, like, figuring everything out that you need to before you can set off. And I think, like, the biggest thing is you just have to set off. You have to let go. You have to, like, lean into the uncertainty and just believe that you'll figure it out when a problem comes up, or when, like, a challenge arises. Like, you figured it out thus far, so you'll continue to figure it out once you leave. But just, like, holding on to the certainty of, like, it's not very easy, but I think it's a trap that people get stuck in, where you're just, like, holding on to, if I just make this next thing perfect, then I can set off. But you'll always find the next thing to just keep you in the harbor. And it's just not where the boats are meant to be. What's your daily motivation to continue sailing and do boat projects?
This might be cheesy, I don't know, but honestly, you guys, for me, like, some days it's really hard on this boat or in the boatyard or whatever, and then we post a video and everybody just is so encouraging and supportive, and that makes me want to keep going, because it's nice to have the support and the community around this, and it makes it a lot easier to continue.
You know, we really do just appreciate the heck out of you for you know, being with us and checking our videos out every Sunday, and like just joining us on this adventure. And honestly, like, on the days where it's like the hardest, it's like we'll often find ourselves going and like just reading all of the sweet things people have said, and like just the encouragement to keep going and that we can do it. I mean, it's been a lot. We also promised Casper that we would keep this boat on an adventure, so we'll keep her going.
Ooh, this one's gonna get us some hate.
What's your favorite Captain Ron quote?
I have never seen it.
Yeah, same.
We'll watch it. We will.
Yep, we'll put it on the list
Yeah.
for, you know, this week.
I'm sorry. I apologize for that one. It's bad of us. We should see the movie.
Yeah. Well, it's like funny because like I feel like when we were buying the boat, I didn't want to watch any sailing anything when it came to like movies, because I feel like a lot of the times the plot points of the movies are things get really scary.
Yeah.
Like big storms are coming. I was like, I don't need that in my psyche at the moment. So we'll catch up on our sailing movies now that we've actually been doing it. Okay, and probably the most important question of all. How many hot dogs a day would your partner have to eat before it affected your marriage? Good question.
Good question. Do you want to go first?
There isn't an amount. You could eat as many hot dogs as you wanted.
Really?
Yeah.
Every day, you wouldn't care?
No, you know, you're a great partner, and I think you've given in so much for this crazy journey that we're on, that if you wanted to eat 10 or 20 hot dogs a day, what am I gonna say about it?
Well, now I can't answer the question because I had a number.
What was the number?
Well,
You gotta be honest. This is an authentic sailing channel.
it doesn't say like end your marriage. It said affected.
It says affected.
your marriage.
Okay, how many would it take for it to be affected?
4.
4?
That's like every single day.
That's a lot of hot dogs.
And I guess it's more so that like hot dogs are not the healthiest thing you could ever eat. So it's like, you know, we've been on a bit of a working on our health journey, and if you were just eating endless hot dogs every day, I'd be like a little concerned.
Yeah, I guess there is like there's probably like a hot dog to mental health chart. That,
Yeah.
like the more hot dogs you're eating, the lower your mental health quality is.
So it's like I would never divorce you over eating hot dogs, but it would be a concern.
Yeah.
I would bring to the table.
How many hot dogs before you host the hot dog intervention? You gather my friends and family to talk about your concern over how many hot dogs I'm eating.
If you were eating more than 8 hot dogs a day, you
Oh,
would
you-
get hot dog intervention.
Okay. At what point do you go to hot dog rehab? 12.
Yeah, 12.
12 is hot
I
dog
work by
rehab.
increments of 4.
4 is effect, 8 is intervention, 12 is you're in a rehab for how many hot dogs you're eating. Okay.
I'm sorry that my number wasn't infinity.
No, it's okay.
I still love you.
I love you too.
Talking about health food as I'm making banana bread. There's a lot of bananas going bad, okay?
It's too hot.
Okay, we can wait for it to cool.
Nicely done, love. Dink it and sink it.
You didn't think it.
I already had a mouthful.